Hey folks, it's Abby and today I'm going to be going through the books that I managed to read in December. So I have my bullet journal here with all of my stats written down. I've got my big pile of books. Let's get into it. First up, I can't be arsed grabbing it, but I DNF'd Dr. Jekyll and Mr Hyde, The Merry Men and Other Stories by R.R. Stevenson. I'd read those two. I read everything apart from the last two books in that bind-up. I was bored. I read 6 pages of it on the 1st of December and was like, fuck this. So that's been DNF'd. I don't know if it's going to be permanently DNF'd, I don't know if I'm going to unhaul it, but we'll see. It's gone. Then on to actual books I read. So, I finally read Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. This is a book that was released back in 1990, I think, and I have been meaning to read it since about 2015. This is a fantastical book about an angel and a demon, essentially, who are on Earth kind of monitoring events and manipulating events, and just a giant shit show goes down and it's them working together. This is such a fun book. I enjoy Neil Gaiman's writing style and I love Terry Pratchett's writing style, and this was actually borrowed from my partner. I was finally able to read it because I had a physical copy because we live together now, and I listened to most of it on audiobook. I listened to maybe 70% of it via audio and then read the last chunk, sat down. I was listening to it when I was at work and when I was doing some housework, so I just ended up getting through a lot more of it than I expected. This was such a good read. I'm pretty sure I gave it just 9 stars in Corpile, as in, did I say 9 stars? I gave it just 5 stars, but that's a 9 is the lowest you can get for 5 stars on Corpile. So yes, really enjoyed this, so glad I finally read it. And yes, Becca, from the Comic Book Sanctum, I will watch the show, just not yet, okay? And Good Omens came in at 383 pages. Then I listened to 2 audiobooks that I don't own. So the first one is Every Heart a Doorway by Sanneh McGuire. This comes in at 173 pages and took me 4 hours and 45 minutes to listen to. So this is another one I was listening to when I was at work, and it is about children who've come back through these portal dwells like Alice in Wonderland, Narnia, that sort of thing, and them adjusting to living in the real world. We follow a girl who has recently joined this school, this boarding school for these children, and it's about learning more about all of these different children, all of the different worlds, and it's a very short little novella, and I'm so glad I finally read it, listened to it, same thing, because it was really enjoyable. I gave it 4 stars. I want to listen to the rest of the series, and I didn't quite like the end. I wasn't keen on the end, I won't say what it is, but I did enjoy it in general and I want to read more. Then I listened to Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers. This is 153 pages or 4 hours and 48 minutes, so longer but shorter, but longer but shorter. Who knows? And this is an adult sci-fi novella which follows a group of individuals who've chosen to leave their families behind and go off for long-distance space travel in order to scientifically evaluate and examine new worlds. And it is about what happens when things can go wrong. It doesn't go majorly wrong, don't get me wrong, but like when there's hiccups and when things don't go quite to plan. I really enjoyed the interpersonal relationships in this and how they developed through the novella, and I also really enjoyed kind of the descriptions of the different planets that they went to. That was a lot of fun. It was my first taste of Becky Chambers' writing and I definitely want to read some more from her in the future. Again, I gave this one 4 stars. Then, back to physical books, I finally finished Major Label by Kelefa Sanneh. I'm probably saying that wrong, I do apologise. I read 200 pages of this month. It totals 469 pages, but I read the rest of it in September and a little bit in October. This was gifted to me very kindly by Canongate as a proof copy, but I moved house and moved jobs right around the time I should have been reading it. So, sorry, but I finally finished it. It is a non-fiction, clearly, it tells you quite clearly on the front, popular music in 7 genres, and this is written so well, it's so enjoyable. Despite the fact that it's quite a large book, I enjoyed every second. I was reading bits out to my partner constantly, which is always a sign of a good non-fiction book if I'm reading things to him. I really like how all of the genres were interwoven together, so although yes, these are 7 distinct genres, there were sub-genres mentioned within them and they did interweave, which is realistic with music. I think this is really well done. I think Sanneh is really knowledgeable in his field, of course, and I really do recommend this to anyone who enjoys music. Then just a little reread, and that was A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, coming in at 100 pages. So I first read this in 2018, I read it half on Christmas Eve and half on Christmas Day. In 2021, I read it all on Christmas Eve. This is a classic for a reason. I have yet to read any of Charles Dickens' other novels, although I've read them in part. I do think that this is short because it wasn't intended to be sold by the word like the rest of his books, and I think that really does then get to show off Dickens's true writing abilities, so this is a really great book and one that I do recommend. It's a classic for a reason. I gave it 5 stars. It's a fantastic story. If you don't know the story of A Christmas Carol, we follow a Scrooge, a nasty, miserly man who has no charity in him, and he is confronted by the ghosts of Christmas past, Christmas present and Christmas future, and shown who he used to be, the impact he's having in the current day, and what it will be like at his death. Very good book. Then another book that I read part of this month, and that is A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown, and I read 390 pages of it. So this totals 466. I read the first 100 odd in, I think it was 80, in October, I believe. This is again just another one that was victim to me being really busy, and I wanted to finish it out before the year ended. This is a West African inspired fantasy, I do believe, and we have 2 points of view here. One is a young boy named Malik, and he is from a very poor region, and his kind of race and his ethnicity are looked down upon by the other people, and he is tasked with what seems like an impossible task. I don't want to say too much more. Does it say in the synopsis? It does! He's doing it to save his sister, who has been kidnapped by an evil entity we love. We also follow the princess of this country, which is Karina, and she is not quite what she seems. She's not this high and mighty lofty princess. She actually has a lot of problems going on in her life, and seeing her interact with Malik and kind of the interplay, I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed this, to the point where on the 28th of December, which is when I finished it, I was 6 pages from the end, and my partner said he wanted to go to Waterstones for the last day of their half-price hardback sale, and I bought a Psalm of Solomon Silence. So I bought the sequel in hardback before I even finished the book. I really liked it. It's really good. And then the very last book, another reread, and that is Midnight by Derek Landy. So this comes in at 432 pages, and this is the 11th book in the Skullduggery Pleasant series. Don't quote me, it could be 12th, it could be 10th, but I think 11. And this series starts off as a middle grade following a young girl who is exposed to the world of magic in Ireland and is mentored by a walking, talking skeleton detective. By this point in the series, it's YA, very definitely YA. It gets pretty dark, and this, it goes a long way from the first books, but I don't want to spoil anything. This, as I said, is a reread for me. I have read every Skullduggery Pleasant book that is currently published, but I'm reading them along with the Dead Famous Read Along. We are going to be having the live show for this coming up in January. I'm not sure when, but please do keep an eye on Ladet Hannah's Twitter account, because she'll be announcing it there. This is a weird little book. I didn't think I was going to like it as much as I did on the reread, kind of from my memories of reading it the first time round, but I actually really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed kind of the main plot point of the book, shall we say, as well as learning more about Omen Darkly. He's such a cute bean, so it was nice to kind of reread his sections again and get to know him a bit more, and I'm really excited to carry on with this. And those, not including the audiobooks, are the books that I read in December. So I ended up reading 1,837 pages this month, which is not a huge amount, not gonna lie, not the biggest amount, but I'm still really happy with how much I managed to read. I'm still settling down, still getting into the rhythm of things. I'm hoping that 2022 I will be set, sorted, ready to go, but at the same time I'm not going to force it. I'm going to enjoy myself rather than force my way through books. Let me know down in the comments below, folks, which read was your last read in 2021. Mine was Midnight by Derek Landy, which is nice and ironic because I was rushing to finish it before midnight. Thank you so much for watching, folks. If you'd like to see some more from me in 2022 and see my reading stats from the last year and all of the books I got for Christmas, as well as how my reading goes in the next year, then please do hit subscribe and hit like if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!